morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be, we are back. And better than ever, expansion and factorization part 2. And may I say, mathematics, just the way you look tonight is the way you look all the time, and that is stunningly beautiful. So let's get to it, shall we? All right. So, I guess we're just going to move right on with the examples. So we are going to factorize 4 to the x minus 9 times 2 to the x plus 20. Well, the first thing that we need to do is get the same exponential expression or term so we can factor it. And you start with the least one, or you want to go for the least one, this 2 to the x. So I'm asking myself, how can I write 4 to the x as 2 to the x, using 2 to the x? So step by step, I can rewrite, let's see, 4 as 2 squared to the x, that's legal, minus 9 times 2 to the x plus 20. And then I can rewrite that as 2 to the x squared. So booyah, I have 2 to the x as my subject, my the dude I want to concentrate on. So another nice strategy is you can let something, say let u equal 2 to the x. And we'll just put that in our back pocket for a second. And all of a sudden this becomes very, very manageable. So now I'm just looking for factors of 20 that combine to give me a negative 9. How about negative 5 and negative 4? So how about u minus 5 times u minus 4? There we go. And now we take out of our back pocket our substitution, and we have 2 to the x minus 5 multiplied by 2 to the x minus 4. Booyah! We are done. Now, was that so bad? Not bad at all. Okay. Moving on. A whole bunch of examples. Let's simplify here. So, what you want to do? Let's do A. Okay. So we have 2 to the x plus 6 to the x over 2 to the x. And I can rewrite that as 2 to the x over 2 to the x. That's no big deal. Plus, well, 2 to the x is what I'm simplifying with because it's in the denominator. So I want to write 6 to the x somehow as using 2 to the x. And how in the world am I going to do that? Well, that, my friends, is simply equal to 2 to the x times 3 to the x, is it not? And how did I get 2 to the x times 3 to the x? Well, isn't 6 equal to 2 times 3 to the x, which is equal to 2 to the x times 3 to the x? That's where that came from. So I'm going to put that over 2 to the x, and I get 1 plus 3 to the x, do I not? Because of kapow, kapow. Giddy up. Not bad at all. All right, B. So 3 to the n plus 1 minus 3 to the n over 3 to the n. Well, that's equivalent to 3 to the n times 3 minus 3 to the n over 3 to the n. Now, we could have done this the same way, and I mean, you can look at this as simplifying with both of these, but what's really happening here is you're factoring out a 3 to the n, and what are you left with? 3 minus 1 over 3 to the n, kapow, and we're left with 2. How wonderful is that? And example C, we have 5 to the n plus 2 plus 5 to the n over 13. Well, that seems kind of weird. Well, I can think of this as 5 to the n times 5 squared plus 5 to the n over 13. Ooh, do you see what's going to happen here? I'm going to factor out a 5 to the n, and I'm left with 5 squared plus 1 over 5 to the n. Kapow. Oh, not over 5 to the n. I'm sorry. Lost my mind for a minute there. That's over 13. So 5 to the n over 13. Looky, looky. So that's 5 to the n times 26 over 13, which is going to end up being 5 to the n multiplied by 2. And generally, rewrite the whole number first. All right, so there you have that. And we got one more example. And we are going to solve for this one, okay? Let's see how this goes. I'm looking at it, and I know with a 9 to the x and a 3 to the x, I can write 9 to the x in the form of 3 to the x squared, I believe. So then I would have a trinomial situation. So before I do any of that, I'm going to move these guys over. We just have to recognize that it's possible to write this as a quadratic. So minus 7 times 3 to the x minus 18 is equal to 0. And I'm going to rewrite 9 as 3 to the x squared, if you don't mind. Hopefully you understand that we can now skip that. I mean, here's what I didn't do. 3 squared to the x, and then it becomes that. But I think we're beyond taking that step. Minus 7 times 3 to the x minus 18 equals 0. So let's let u equal 3 to the x. So put that in my back pocket, and now I have u squared minus 7u minus 18 is equal to 0. That's an easy factor. U minus 9 times u plus 2 is equal to 0, which means u minus 9 equals 0, or u plus 2 equals 0. So u is going to be equal to 9, or u is going to be equal to negative 2. Then I reach out of my back pocket and say 3 to the x is equal to 9. That's an easy solve. X is going to be equal to 2. And so 3 to the x, that's a horrible 2. Why didn't you stop me? 3 to the x equal to negative 2. This is not possible, as 3 to the x can't be negative. If you have a positive base here, there's no way the result can be negative when raised to when you have an exponent. It's not possible. So there's nothing here, no solution. So our only solution is x equals 2. All right, so let's check back in with Frank to sign out. Get this party going. Oh, there he is. Oh, wait. There we go.
So warm,
yeah!
and your cheeks so soft.
Tell it, Frank.
There is nothing
You go, my man.
but to love.
I love you, mathematics. Yes, I do. And on that note, I am